What happens when one of country music's biggest stars walks into what should have been a warm, easy morning show chat, only to be blindsided by questions that cross every boundary imaginable? Today, we're diving into the explosive moment when Carrie Underwood lost her composure live on air, storming off today with Jenna and friends after an interview that began with harmless celebrity chatter but quickly spiraled into something much darker. The episode started innocently enough. Jenna Bush Hager settled into her chair, the cameras rolling, the studio lights soft and welcoming. The production team had promised a breezy, feel-good segment. Carrie Underwood would talk about her latest album, her upcoming tour, maybe share a sweet family story or two, the kind of safe content morning shows thrive on. We're back with the incredible Carrie Underwood. Jenna beamed, her smile wide and practiced. Carrie, thank you for being here this morning. We're so excited to talk about everything you've got going on. Carrie smiled back, polished and poised. Thanks for having me, Jenna. I'm always happy to be here. The opening questions were safe, predictable. Your fans are loving the new album, Jenna said. Tell us about the inspiration behind it. This record came from a place of reflection, Carrie replied, her tone warm, the voice her fans adored. It's about growth, the different phases of life. Some songs look back, some look forward. But then Jenna's tone shifted ever so slightly. And speaking of moving forward, she said, leaning in, you've been through so much in the public eye. The success, the challenges, the scrutiny that comes with fame. Carrie nodded carefully. It's been a journey, but I feel grateful for all of it, the good and the hard parts. You mentioned gratitude, Jenna pressed, flipping a page of her notes with deliberate calm. But let's be honest, there have been some difficult moments, some controversies, things that must have been very hard to navigate. Carrie's smile faltered. Well, anyone in the public eye deals with that to some degree. Sure, Jenna said smoothly, but your situation has been a little different, hasn't it? Her co-hosts shifted in their seats, exchanging uneasy glances. Some of the things said about your personal life, your relationships, your career choices. Carrie straightened in her chair. Her voice was polite, but an edge slipped through. I'm sorry, what exactly are you referring to? Jenna paused, letting the silence stretch. Well, there have been persistent rumors about your marriage, about certain professional relationships that may have crossed lines. The studio went silent, cameras humming. Carrie's smile grew forced, brittle. Jenna, I think there might be some confusion about the type of interview this was supposed to be. Oh, no confusion at all, Jenna replied smoothly. We're just having an honest conversation. Isn't that what your fans deserve? Honesty. My fans get honesty from me through my music and the way I live my life, Carrie said firmly. They don't need me addressing gossip on morning television. That's interesting, Jenna countered, because some people would say avoiding these topics is part of the problem. That there's been a pattern of deflection. A pattern of deflection. Carrie's voice sharpened. I'm sorry, but what exactly are you accusing me of? I'm not accusing you of anything, Jenna said innocently, though her words cut sharp. I'm asking the questions people wonder about. For instance, those photos from last year's charity event. Carrie's face went pale. What photos? You know, the ones with the married politician. Very cozy, very friendly. The air in the studio turned icy. Carrie's jaw clenched. Are you seriously asking me about tabloid photographs right now? I'm asking about judgment, Jenna replied evenly. Boundaries, choices. Carrie's voice rose, trembling with controlled fury. You want to talk about judgment? How about the judgment of ambushing a guest with gossip disguised as journalism? Her co-host squirmed, but Jenna pushed forward. Carrie, you're a role model to so many young women. Isn't transparency important? Don't you dare? Carrie snapped, pointing a finger at Jenna. Don't you dare use my responsibility to my fans as an excuse to drag me through this nonsense. I'm not dragging you through anything, Jenna insisted. I'm giving you a chance to set the record straight. Set the record straight. About what? Carrie shot back. About rumors created to tear down successful women. About photographs taken out of context. The studio crackled with tension, heavy and electric. Carrie, Jenna tried again, her composure slipping. This isn't about tearing you down. It's about real conversations. People are tired of scripted, polished interviews. Real conversations. Carrie laughed coldly. If you think blindsiding someone with tabloid trash is a real conversation, you've lost the meaning of the word. Jenna's voice rose to now, sharp with frustration. What's wrong with celebrity culture today is the refusal to talk about the messy human side. Everyone just wants to promote albums and pretend nothing else exists. The messy human side. Carrie repeated, incredulous. You mean my private life? The parts of me that have nothing to do with why I'm here. One of the co-hosts tried to interject, desperate to save the segment. Maybe we should talk about the tour dates, but Jenna cut them off. No, I think we're finally getting somewhere real. Carrie, if these rumors are so baseless, why do they keep following you around? Why do people keep questioning your marriage, your friendships, Your choices, asterisk. Carrie's hands gripped the arms of her chair, knuckles white. Because people like you keep giving oxygen to lies. Because shows like this one think destroying someone's reputation makes for good television. Nobody's trying to destroy your reputation, Jenna insisted, though her voice wavered. But you have to admit where there's smoke, there's usually fire. Where there's smoke, Carrie shot back without hesitation, there's usually someone like you fanning the flames. The audience, which had been silent in discomfort, began to murmur. This was not what they expected from a cheery morning show. Okay, that's unfair, Jenna bristled, her tone sharpening. I'm a journalist. Carrie, it's my job to ask the questions that matter. Your job? Carrie suddenly stood, her microphone cord tugging sharply as though trying to pull her back into the chair. Your job is to ambush guests with personal attacks disguised as journalism. Your job is to repeat unverified gossip and parade it as fact. These aren't personal attacks, Jenna protested, but her conviction had slipped. These are legitimate questions about your public behavior. My public behavior. Carrie began pacing as far as the mic cord would let her. Taking a photo at a charity event is behavior that needs to be interrogated. Talking with colleagues in the music industry is suspicious activity now. When those colleagues are married men, and when those conversations happen in very private settings, yes, people have a right to wonder. Jenna doubled down, her words landing like sparks on dry grass. People have a right to wonder, Carrie repeated, louder, now incredulous. What people? What right? You're saying it's open season on my marriage, my friendships, my character based on tabloid snapshots. Carrie, you're getting very defensive about this, Jenna observed, which was the worst thing she could have said. Defensive. Carrie spun to face her directly, fire in her eyes. I'm defensive because I'm being ambushed on live television by someone who claims to be a professional, but acts like a gossip columnist. I resent that characterization, Jenna said stiffly, and I resent being lied to about what this interview was going to be. Carrie shot back. I was told we'd talked about music, about my tour, about uplifting things. Instead, you've turned this into an interrogation. Sometimes the most important conversations are the ones people don't want to have. Jenna replied, straining for gravitas but landing somewhere closer to condescension. Important conversations. Carrie's laugh was sharp, humorless. You think repeating made-up scandals about my personal life is important. You think gossip qualifies as journalism. I think transparency matters. I think accountability matters, Jenna said firmly, though her words carried the weight of provocation. Accountability for what? Carrie demanded, her voice slicing through the tension. For living my life, for building a career, for existing as a woman in the public eye, for the choices you've made that affect other people, Jenna pressed, and the words hung like a trap between them. Carrie's tone dropped, dangerously quiet now. What choices? What people? Be specific. Jenna, if you're going to destroy someone's reputation on live TV, at least have the courage to name what you're accusing me of. For the first time, Jenna faltered. I'm not accusing you of anything specific. I'm just saying, when multiple sources suggest a pattern, multiple sources. Carrie cut in, her voice sharp enough to draw gasps from the audience. You mean anonymous tips to gossip websites? You mean faceless voices with axes to grind? That's your journalistic standard. Look, Carrie, I understand you're upset, Jenna said carefully, but this is exactly the kind of reaction that makes people think there might be something to these stories. My reaction? Carrie's voice nearly broke into a shout. You're telling me my anger at being ambushed and slandered on national television is what makes people suspicious. Not the fact that you're spreading unverified garbage in front of millions. Her co-hosts exchanged panicked glances, signaling, desperately to Jenna to stop. But Jenna pressed on, determined to drive the segment to its breaking point. I'm not spreading rumors, Jenna said tightly. I'm asking questions based on credible reports, Jenna repeated, clinging to the phrase like a shield. Credible reports? From who? Carrie demanded, eyes blazing. Name one credible source for this garbage you're throwing at me. I can't reveal my sources, Jenna said primly. Of course you can't, Carrie spat, because they don't exist, because this isn't journalism, it's character assassination. Dressed up as morning television. Character assassination. Jenna's voice pitched upward, defensive. That's a very serious accusation. I'm simply doing my job as a journalist, asking the hard questions. Hard questions, Carrie snapped, turning back toward the host. Hard questions are about policy, about social issues, about the meaning behind my music. What you're doing is tabloid trash with better lighting. Our viewers deserve to know who they're supporting, Jenna pressed, her tone sharpening. They deserve to understand the character of the people they admire. And what exactly have I done that calls my character into question? Carrie shot back, attending charity events, collaborating with colleagues in my industry, trying to live my life while keeping some shred of privacy. It's not just about charity events, Jenna said, consulting her notes with deliberate drama. There's the recording studio incident in Nashville, the late-night meetings with your producer, Being spotted at industry parties without your husband. Carrie's face drained, then flushed scarlet. Are you keeping tabs on me? Sitting there reading off my whereabouts like you're building a case file. I'm reporting on what's already been reported, Jenna said coolly. And what's been reported suggests a pattern of behavior that maybe needs addressing. A pattern of behavior. Carrie's voice cracked with disbelief. The pattern of a working woman with a career, of someone collaborating with professionals. In her field, the pattern of someone who seems to have very flexible boundaries when it comes to married men, Jenna said bluntly. The words landed like a slap. Even the camera crew seemed to flinch. Carrie stared at Jenna, silent for a long, electric moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, more dangerous than a shout. Excuse me, I think you heard me, Jenna replied, though her confidence was already faltering. No. Carrie stepped closer to the host desk, her tone like ice. I want you to repeat that. On camera? So there's no confusion about what you just implied. Carrie, please sit down, one co-host pleaded nervously. Let's just know. Carrie cut her off without breaking eye contact. I want to hear her say it. On the record, Jenna glanced around the studio, realizing too late she might have crossed a line she couldn't uncross. I didn't accuse you of anything specific. You absolutely did, Carrie said, her fury now steady, lethal. You just questioned my boundaries with married men. You just implied I'm some kind of homewrecker. Say it clearly, Jenna. Don't hide behind innuendos. Say it. I think you're overreacting, Jenna said weakly. Overreacting. Carrie let out a bitter laugh. I'm being slandered on live television, and you think I should just smile and nod while you call me a marriage destroyer. Nobody called you that, Jenna protested. You did everything but say the word. Carrie snapped, and now, you want to retreat into semantics, pretend you weren't trying to torch my reputation with your little fishing expedition. This isn't a fishing expedition, Jenna insisted. These are legitimate concerns based on credible reporting. Credible reporting, Carrie repeated, her voice rising again. You keep throwing that phrase around like it means something. Where's the evidence? Who are these sources? What proof do you have? I don't have to provide evidence to ask questions, Jenna said. It was the most toned-up response possible. Carrie froze, then laughed again sharp, incredulous. You don't have to provide evidence before you destroy someone's reputation on national television. That's your position. I'm not destroying anyone's reputation, Jenna said stiffly. I'm facilitating a conversation about accountability in celebrity culture. Accountability. Carrie was pacing again, hands cutting the air. Accountability for what? For having a career, for being a woman who works with men, for existing in public while female, for the impact your actions have on others, Jenna pressed. For the example you set for young women who look up to you. The example I set. Carrie stopped pacing and stared at her incredulous. You want to talk about examples? What example are you setting right now? What are you teaching young women how to tear each other down with gossip? How to punish successful women with innuendo and character assassination? That's not what this is, Jenna said, but her voice had lost its edge. Then, what is it? Carrie demanded. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you lured me here under false pretenses just to ambush me with rumors. We're having a conversation about your public image, Jenna said lamely. My public image, Carrie shot back, fire in her voice, is my music. My charitable work, my connection with fans, not whatever twisted narrative you've stitched together from paparazzi photos and gossip blogs. Asterisk, isn't that the problem? Jenna pressed, her voice firm, but her eyes betraying nerves. You want to control the narrative. You want to decide what parts of your life are fair game and what parts are off limits. Off limits. Carrie's voice dropped to a dangerous hush. You think my marriage is off limits? My private relationships. She leaned forward, eyes locked on Jenna. Yes, Jenna, I absolutely think those things should be off limits. In an interview that was supposed to be about my work, but your work includes being a role model. Jenna countered, barreling ahead, oblivious to the warning signs. And role models don't get to compartmentalize like that. Carrie blinked in disbelief. So role models don't get privacy. They don't get boundaries. They have to be held to a higher standard, Jenna said, her tone dripping sanctimony. That was it. Carrie's composure cracked the higher standard. What standard are you holding yourself to right now? What journalistic code says it's okay to ambush a guest with tabloid rumors? These aren't rumors, Jenna insisted. Multiple sources have confirmed. Confirmed what? Carrie exploded. That I show up at events. That I collaborate with colleagues. That I exist as a working woman. Confirmed concerning behavior patterns, Jenna said vaguely. Concerning to who? Carrie demanded. Tabloid editors. People who can't stomach a successful woman living her life. Who decides what's concerning you. People who care about marriage and family values. Jenna replied, and the instant the words left her mouth, the studio air turned electric. Carrie went utterly still. Family values, she repeated slowly, dangerously. Yes, Jenna said, doubling down. The importance of respecting marriage, maintaining boundaries, setting a good example. You want to lecture me on family values. Carrie's voice was ice now. You want to sit there and question my commitment to marriage and family while you try to destroy both on live television. I'm not destroying anything, Jenna protested, her voice faltering. You're spreading lies about my marriage, tearing down my character, and calling it journalism, Carrie snapped, advancing toward the host's desk. You're doing more damage to families right now than any photograph or headline ever could. Carrie, please, let's just. One co-host tried to interject. No. Carrie cut her off, her fury razor sharp. I'm done being polite. I'm done pretending this is acceptable. She turned back to Jenna. You want to know about my boundaries? Here's one. I don't do interviews with people who think character assassination is entertainment. You're overreacting to legitimate journalism, Jenna said desperately. Legitimate journalism. Carrie tore at her mic pack. This isn't journalism. This is gossip dressed up as a morning show, and I won't be a part of it. Carrie, wait, we can talk about the album. The tour, Jenna pleaded, panic creeping into her voice. Carrie laughed bitterly as she grabbed her purse. Now you want to talk about the album? After 15 minutes of trying to brand me a homewrecker, now you remember why I came here. We can start over, Jenna offered weakly. Start over. Carrie wheeled on her, eyes blazing. You don't get to hit reset after slandering someone on live TV. You don't get to accuse me of destroying marriages and then pivot to concert dates. I never used that word, Jenna whispered. You didn't need to, Carrie shot back. You said everything, but the studio was chaos. Now producers waving frantically for a commercial break. Co-hosts frozen in panic. Audience members whispering and lifting their phones. This doesn't have to end this way. Jenna tried one last time. You're right, Carrie said, already heading for the exit. It didn't have to. You chose this when you ambushed me with lies. You chose this when you decided cruelty mattered more than decency. I was just doing my job, Jenna shouted after her. Carrie stopped at the edge of the set, turned one last time, and delivered the final blow. If this is your job, Jenna, then you need a new one. Because this isn't journalism. It isn't even entertainment. It's cruelty, in disguise. And with that, Carrie Underwood walked off today with Jenna and friends, leaving behind a stunned studio, a humiliated host, and the kind of viral moment morning television would never live down. The cameras lingered on Jenna's stricken face for a few beats too long before someone finally cut to commercial. But by then, the damage was irreparable.